Hello everybody, Final Richie, another video. This is my San Francisco bands, brought to you by Grosh. My first beer in quite a while. I've worked 15, maybe 18 days in a row. I'm not working tonight. I took a night off. Beer sales are up 20%. Who would have thought? I got a list of the bands here, but I don't think I need the list because the records are right there. Anyways, I'm going to start it off. First off, there were two bands I left off of the LA one. Canned Heat and Steppenwolf. Those are two bands that I was into big time in 69, 70, 71. My junior high years, maybe 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Even 9th grade. But I couldn't find the Canned Heat albums. And I didn't want to include Steppenwolf because I didn't want to get Bobby Gass pissed off. Well, in this one, my San Francisco one, there's a band I'm leaving off. It's Quicksilver Messenger Service. I can't find their records. But whatever. I know they're here. The first two. Anyways, we're starting off with this comp. The Autumn Records story. Now, Autumn Records was an independent label. Started in 64, went out of business in 66. I guess the two owners, they were DJs in San Francisco. They liked to gamble a lot. So they died right before the flower power, the psychedelic scene blew up. Although they do have the first, I believe it's the first recordings of The Great Society. The producer that used to produce, I think, almost all the records for Autumn Records was Sylvester Stewart, Sly Stewart, or Sly Stone as he became. But it's got Bobby Freeman, the Beau Brummels, the Mojo Men, the Charlatans, the Tikis. But yeah, 64 to 66. Now the first band that meant anything to me, I'm not, just like the LA one, it's not the best bands from LA, they're not the best bands from Frisco, but the ones that had an impact on me. And the first one is We Five, and it was the song You Were On My Mind. I love that song. And it's the first song on side 2. Now the rest of the album is pretty much folk. It's not bad, but it's not, I don't like it as much as that. But I thought I would include this. The second band, probably my favorite band from the Bay Area, of the rock ones. It's Jefferson Airplane. And I thought I would show Crown of Creation. I think it's one of their best albums, and it don't seem to get any respect from Mazzy. It's really a drugged out, psyched out album. And I dig it, man. And I have a copy here, The Crown of Creation. This is a Taiwanese, I guess, copy. And if you look, it's not Jefferson Airplane, it's Jefferson Airplane. It's Jefferson Airplane on Columbia Records. This is Jefferson Airplane, 30 Seconds Over Winterland. I actually saw Jefferson Airplane on this tour at the Hollywood Bowl. It was okay. It wasn't great. With Papa John Creech. I mean, they were good. The opening band was Poco. They were okay. I mean, Jefferson Airplane were better than Poco, but this wasn't the height of their career. Now this set is fantastic. The Woodstock, 3-record set, the complete set, fantastic shit. Now the next band, Garage Classics. I think they only had one album. Count 5 with Psychotic Reaction. What a fantastic song. That is the epitome of garage rock right there. And actually the whole album is pretty good. Double Decker Bus, It's got a couple of songs that kind of sound like Psychotic Reaction, but it's all good. Now the next band kind of have a tragic story. I should re-listen to these albums and do a video on them. But their first album is, well, the band is Moby Grape. This is their debut. Skip Spence, he was the original drummer of Jefferson Airplane. The Jefferson Airplane kicked the manager out, and Skip Spence left at the same time. It's unclear to me if they kicked out Skip Spence too. I wouldn't doubt it, because he turned out to be kind of a flaky guy. But yeah, they signed to Columbia Records, and the manager that, well, good thing Jefferson Airplane got rid of that manager. He turned out to be a crook. They ended up having to fight him for years and, decades to get the rights to their songs. Skip Spence turned into a quote-unquote acid casualty. But yeah, the first album, Columbia Records released 5 singles simultaneously. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. It turned out to be a disaster. Omaha could have been a big hit, you know. Their second album is Wow, is it? Yeah, Wow. Pretty cool album. It's not as good as the first. And Columbia Records thought it would be a good idea to include 2 albums with this. They were packaged together. Now this one is kind of like a jam. I did not like this at first, but I dig it now. I can listen to it now once in a while. It's like a jam like that. I think Al Cooper is. Mike Bloomfield and Al Cooper are both on it, yeah. Their third album is Truly Fine Citizen. People don't like this album, but I actually like it. And it's only got 4 members by this time, I believe. And Moby Grape 69. Now this one is more in the country rock vein, if I remember right. It's been a while since I've listened to these. And then in the early 70s, all the original members got back together and they came up with this 20 Granite Creek, I believe. And this is a good album. Underrated album, this one. Now the next band, probably of the big psych bands out of Frisco, this is my least favorite of the bunch. And it's Country Joe and the Fish. This is their second album. I would like to get their first album. Country Joe claims that they released the first psychedelic album out of Frisco, I guess. I think Jefferson Airplane and Grateful Dead both had albums before these guys. I know Jefferson Airplane did. And I think the first Grateful Dead album came out the same year as their first. But whatever. They're not as good as Grateful Dead or Jefferson Airplane. Their first album is their best. Their second, it has moments. I believe this is their third, and again, it has moments. It's got some really cool songs on it. Rockin' Soul Music, is it? Yeah, Rockin' Soul Music. And I believe this is Joe McDonald's wedding. Yeah, right there he is. I don't know. I'm not going to say anything. And this is their greatest hits with their bums. I mean, this is an okay greatest hits. I think they could have done put a better song selection. Now, the next band is probably the band that's had the longest career, and it's Grateful Dead. I do not have their first album, but I think they're known mostly for being a good live band, but I think their first 6 studio albums are fantastic. This is the most psychedelic of them. In fact, I included this in my top 25 psychedelic albums, a video I did a few years back. Anthem of the Sun, and this is their second album, E-I-E-I-O. I just recently got this one. Their third studio, Working Man's Dead. Their fourth, American Beauty, fantastic. Side one of this is, I think, darn near perfect. And their sixth, Grateful Dead, Wake of the Flood. This has a wanker song or two, but it's actually a really, I think it's side two is just fantastic on this. And this is Jerry Garcia's first solo album. Some of the songs on this became Grateful Dead staples. This is a really good album. Side one, if I remember right, sounds like a Grateful Dead record. Side two sounds more like a jazz fusion at times, you know? It's really good. Now the next band, this is my oldest one I have by them. And I was looking at the vinyl. It does have quite a few hairlines. I might end up getting rid of this one. But it's live. Sly and the Family Stone. It's okay. I mean, it's got Milady on it. Fun. It's just okay. I think their first great album was Stand. This is their greatest hits, and this is an essential greatest hits. I don't normally say that, but this has a couple of songs that aren't on any of their other albums. Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself, and You Can Make It If You Try, maybe? Or, I don't know. Maybe Everyday People. Whatever. I actually saw these guys, man. And they were fantastic. It was about the time when this one came out. This is one of their best albums. Yeah, man. There it is. I was at that concert, you know. It was about the size of that. It was like in a basketball arena. Fantastic. We were right off to the stage. Took them forever to show up. But, man, when they did, oh my goodness. And this is probably Sly's last good album, Small Talk. The one before this, it has In Time on it, a fantastic song. And there's a story where Miles Davis took that album in and he played In Time to the band. And then he told them, that's what I want you guys to do. That was her instructions. But after this one, his albums are a little erratic. And I got the Woodstock concert of Sly and the Family Stone, and it is a really good. I mean, they get into a groove on this. Now the next band, garage classics. Chocolate Watch Band, No Way Out, their first album. It's kind of a, it's a 80% garage, 20% psych. Their second album is more psych than garage. In fact, side one is all psych. Side two has some garage on it. This song has a lot of, I think, studio musicians on it also. Now the next band, now one thing, on my video, there's a lot of bands I'm neglecting to show, and I think there's some bands that Mazzy neglected to show in his San Francisco. And one of them is this psychedelic band here. 50 Foot Hose. This is Cauldron, their first album. They have 2 albums, I believe. It's just a fantastic female singer. I think it might be male and female. Just the use of the Moog synthesizer. And it's this is a recent reissue. I would pick it up while you can. It is a fantastic psych album. Now the next band, at the time, they were probably the biggest selling band out of Frisco. I mean, they made, I don't know how many albums in like 3 or 4 years, you know. Creedence Clearwater, Willie and the Poor Boys, and Cosmos Factory. I would like to get a couple of their earlier ones, but I have them all on CDs, so I really don't have the need. And I have John Fogerty's Center Field. I bought this when I read in the LA Times that Zance Can't Dance. He got sued and he was going to have to change the name of the song. So I went down to Middle Earth Records, picked this up, and it's still sealed. It's probably worth $3, you know. I thought it was going to be a collector's item. I don't know how much it's worth. The next one is Blue Sheer. Now, this is the 67 demos. I think their first album came out in 68. But I'm not showing that because I don't want to mispronounce the name. So I thought I would show this record store day of the 67 demos. This is so heavy. It is such a hard rock. And I mean, it is fantastic. It's unbelievable how hard these guys played. Now, another one that Mazzy didn't show, a fantastic psych band, the Neighborhood Children. Fantastic, dude. Mazzy probably even knows that neighborhood, you know? Really good psych. Another band that blew up, Santana. Their first album. I think Santana's first 4 albums are fantastic. The first 3 are with all the original band. The fourth, some of the band members left, but he made that one with the big sun, Caravanese or whatever. It's a blue and a big old orange sun. That's a fantastic album too. Now this next one, their first album came out in 1970, and it's an offshoot of Jefferson Airplane, and it's Hot Tuna. I much preferred Hot Tuna over Jefferson Starship. This is their first album. It's a live acoustic set. I didn't really care for this that much when, you know, I was more of a rocker guy, you know. It's a good album, though. I can get into this now. But at the time, I didn't really like it. Their second album was also a live album. And it's an electric live. And it's not as good as this one. This one, even at the time, even though I wasn't really into this one, I did like it more than the electric one. Now, their third album is fantastic. It's darn near a perfect album. And it's with Papa John Creech, Burgers by Hot Tuna. This is just good all the way through. And I don't know if this is their 4th or 5th or whatever, but it's Hot Tuna, America's Choice. This one they really rock a little harder, and they have some funky grooves on this one. They get into the funk. And this is another great one. The Fluorescent Rat. This is a fantastic album. Really cool cover. Looks like an Andy Warhol. Now the next band, I saw that they used to play Bakersfield a lot. And it's the Doobie Brothers. I saw them in 71. And it was about the time their first album came out. This is their second album. And they were a really good biker rockin' band, you know. And then and they used to play Bakersfield a lot because, I mean, they were just north of us. And I don't know if they would stop there on the way to LA or what, but they played Bakersfield a lot in the early, before they blew up with this album. Now with this album they still did play, but not quite as often. And this album had some big old hits. Listen to the music, man. Is what put them on the map. Oh, and I think there's some bums in this one, you know. Just some chi-chis. But yeah, they're all naked. And Mazzy said he didn't like the Michael McDonald years, but I really like this album, man. Taking It to the Streets. And this is a really good album, man. And it's kind of like the turning point where, God, what was that guy's name? Patrick Simmons, was it? I don't know. And then this one here is it's Michael McDonald's band, where he's the main singer. And I dig this album too, Minute by Minute. It's a different band, but man, I like Michael McDonald's voice. I mean, to me, he could sing this phone book and it would sound good, you know? Now, in the early 70s, I started getting into funk and soul. And one band that played, I saw at Bakersfield a couple of times, was the Pointer Sisters. This is their first album. Really good album. And it had a song on here, Yes We Can. Another band that played around that same time was Rufus with Shaka Khan, but it was just Rufus back then. And I don't have their album anymore. But they had an album after this one with some high heels on it, like high heel sneakers, I think. That's a good one too, but then after that they got kind of disco-y. If you like disco, I'm sure it's great. Now, this band, I got a story with this one. It's the Tubes. I think this came out in 75. I saw the Tubes in 1973. Went up to Frisco with my cousin and to see Led Zeppelin. And Led Zeppelin was playing at Kezar Stadium. It's right by I think it's on the... I know it was like on the edge of Golden Gate Park. And it wasn't far from the Haight-Ashbury whole thing. But the Tubes were the opening act. And it was 2 years, a year and a half before they had an album out. And man, they blew me away, dude. The guy came out, he had like high heels like this big, like all in like glittery, like tinfoil looking jumpsuit. He had a banana in his pants, you know, making his dick look all big. And he was wild. He had a name, I don't know, Mazzy mentioned it. But they were fantastic. Now, when I went back to Vegas, I was telling all my friends, man, about this crazy band, the Tubes. And a couple years later... Now, originally, these guys are from Phoenix area. At least, I think, some of the band. I don't know about the whole. And I would like to see the Hog's Ear Report do a Phoenix area video. He would do a really good one, man. He has so much knowledge. Not like me. I'm just a bullshitter, you know. But yeah, anyways. They were the opening band. Then Roy Harper played. Now, I knew there was a song, a Led Zeppelin song, something Harper... I always thought he was just a made-up guy, but he was actually a real dude, you know. And then after that, Lee Michaels played. And it was Lee Michaels just on the organ, and he had that drummer, Frosty, I believe his name was. They kicked ass, too. And then Led Zeppelin played for 4 hours back in 1973. Now, oh yeah, and this is their second album. Their next two are really good, too, but these are the only two that I still have. Now, the next band is when... punk hit. And the first, Crime was a really good early San Francisco punk band, but I don't have their singles, and they go for a lot now. But other than that, I think the first really good punk band out of Frisco was Negative Trend. Pretty cool logo there. And it's a 4-song EP, and it is absolutely fantastic. 4 songs, Black and Red, How You Feelin', and Mercenaries and Meat House. Absolutely fantastic. This is actually, they had 3 singers. Very short-lived band. I think with the first singer, they only did a few gigs. Second singer came and they recorded that EP. 2 of the songs on that EP are on this comp: Tooth and Nail, Negative Trend, I Got Power, and Mercenaries. Their third singer was a guy from L.A., Rick L. Rick. He was from a band. Fuck Ups? Nah, man. I don't know. Something like that. And he's on this comp. In Black and Red, Meat House, I Got Power, Mercenaries, and Atomic Lawn. Now, these are all songs that were recorded with Negative Trend. Posh Boy repackaged them and just called it Rick L. Rick. But this is the Negative Trend. Right there. Now, when Negative Trend broke up, they split into 2. Well, members from that band went on to Flipper. But the one that I like more, way more, is Toiling Midgets, Sea of Unrest. This is a fantastic album, man. It's kind of kind of experimental type, post-punk, I guess you call it. I don't know. But yeah, it's a really great punk album. Not hardcore, it's more intellectual. Now, the biggest band started a little bit after that first wave. I think they started in 78. And it's the Dead Kennedys. I'm not going to show too many Dead Kennedys albums. I thought I'd pull their first one out because I just did a Dead Kennedys video and I showed all my Dead Kennedys albums except for this single, Halloween. I couldn't find it and I ran across it and I thought, you know what, I'll show it in this. The record I have in its separate sleeve. Now the next punk album, Band, came out, they came out in 81, and it's Crucifix, Dehumanization. It's kind of like a Crass type band. The singer was fantastic. He was a Asian dude. I think he was from Cambodia. He would always have his hair like in spikes, just like my buddy Scott. He was an Asian dude, and he always wore his hair in spikes. What he used to do is, because I think nowadays you can just, they make stuff for that. But back in the 70s, you know, early 80s, they didn't. What he would do is get Jello, make the Jello. You know how you'd heat it up and then put it in the fridge? He would just mix it up and then put it on his hair. And that's how he got his hair to go in spikes. Yeah, Crucifix, Dehumanization. And I still got that story I got to tell one of these days with Scott. Now, the next band, got to show them. They blew up, man. But early on, man, they were a really good punk band. And this is Dookie, their second album. The one with Ernie. And they blew up on this. The album after that's really good. But then it got to the point where even my wife likes them, you know. And if my wife likes it, it's probably not punk anymore. And my last band, and I think this is a big omission from Mazzy's list. Big. This is a Record Store Day of their early demos before they had any albums released, and it's called Pol Pot's Pleasure Penthouse. And this is Brian Jonestown Massacre. My favorite band from the 1990s. It used to be Smashing Pumpkins, but I like the 90s output of the Brian Jonestown Massacre more. I have all their 90s stuff on CD. I don't have much vinyl of theirs. But yeah. There's Anton Newcombe, is it? Yeah. Fantastic band. Mazzy, if you don't have any of their 90s stuff, pick it up, man. I mean, they were off the charts. That's it, my San Francisco. Take care, everybody. I'm tired, man. Worked like 18 days in a row. I worked 12 days today. I've been up since 9 o'clock last night. Whew. 17 hours. Time to go to bed. Take care, everybody. But I'll upload this first. If I hear one more motherfucker say, we're all in this together, I'm gonna